Most men spend their lives listening to what women say while completely ignoring what their bodies are screaming. We are taught from birth that communication is verbal, but in the realm of high-stakes attraction, words are often a smokescreen. Today, we are going to strip away the polite layers of social conditioning. We are going to look at the raw, biological blueprints that govern human desire. By the time this video ends, you will never look at a social interaction the same way again. You will see the invisible threads of intent that connect people in a room. Welcome to the autopsy of attraction. At Psyphoria Echo, we don't look for maybe, we look for the must. A woman's mouth is often her most effective tool for survival, trained from childhood to preserve harmony. She is taught to be pleasant, to avoid conflict, and to soften the blow for men she doesn't actually want. If you are waiting for a woman to walk up to you and declare her interest in plain English, you are playing a losing game. You will remain trapped in the friend zone, watching as a man who understands the silent language takes her home. The truth is much more visceral. Female desire does not live in the logic of the mind. It lives in the ancient rhythms of the nervous system. It manifests in the involuntary twitch of a muscle, the subtle shift in weight, and the chemical magnetism that draws her toward a source of masculine stability. She cannot fake these signals because her brain isn't consciously choosing them. While most men are distracted by a polite smile or a kind word, the predator of social intelligence is looking at the biological leakage. We call this the matrix code of dating. Once you learn to read it, the world transforms from a blur of confusion into a clear map of availability and intent. But before we begin, I must issue a warning. The seventh signal we will discuss is the most dangerous for. To the untrained eye, it looks exactly like rejection. If you react to it with insecurity, the attraction dies instantly. But if you use the Psyphoria Echo strategy, she becomes psychologically tethered to you. Let's begin our descent into the animal beneath the makeup. Sign number 1, the collapse of the intimate radius. Every human being moved through the world encased in an invisible force field. In the world of psychology, this is known as proxemics. For most people, there is a social zone that extends from about 3 feet to 6 feet. Then, there is the personal zone, which sits between 18 inches and 3 feet. Anything closer than 18 inches is the intimate zone. This is the space reserved for family, close friends, and lovers. If a stranger enters this 18-inch bubble without permission, your amygdala fires off a warning. Your heart rate spikes. Your muscles tense. Entering this space is, by definition, an act of territorial invasion. However, in the dance of seduction, this invasion is exactly what she is looking for. When a woman desires you, she doesn't just let you into her space. She actively tries to merge hers with yours. Watch the gap between your bodies like a hawk. A woman who is merely being polite will maintain a consistent, clinical social distance. She will keep a table between you if possible. She will stand at a distance where her force field remains unprobed. She is, quite literally, protecting her energy. But when the biological switch of attraction is flipped, she subconsciously begins to collapse this radius. She will find reasons to exist inside your guard. If you are in a loud bar, she won't just lean her ear toward you. She will bring her entire torso into your intimate zone. Even if the room is perfectly quiet, she will find a reason to whisper, a comment that could have been said at full volume. She is testing the heat signature of your presence. Attraction has a physical weight, a gravitational pull that she cannot resist. She isn't choosing to stand closer. Her nervous system is compelling her to equalize the pressure between you. To her, the space outside your orbit feels cold and disconnected. You can actually test this with a technique we call the vacuum test. While you are mid-conversation, casually take a half step back. Do it naturally, as if you are just adjusting your stance. This creates a physical void in the space you previously shared. Observe her reaction with clinical precision. A woman who sees you only as a friend or a social acquaintance will remain exactly where she is. In fact, she might feel a subtle sense of relief, because she now has more breathing room, but a woman who is under the spell of attraction will almost immediately step forward to fill that void. She won't even realize she's doing it. Her body is simply following the gravity of her desire. She needs to be within your sphere of influence to feel right. By stepping into your space, she is signaling that you are not a threat to her safety, but a destination for her intimacy. She is handing you the keys to her most private physical territory. Most men miss this because they are too busy worrying about what to say next. They are looking at her eyes, but they aren't looking at the floor. They aren't measuring the inches. Sign number 2 is what biologists call the biological pin. You see this across the entire spectrum of the animal kingdom. You see it in the way a bird of paradise meticulously arranges its feathers before a mate. You see it in the way primates smooth their fur when a dominant male enters the clearing. And if you are paying close enough attention, you will see it in the woman sitting across from you at the dinner table. Most men are oblivious to this because they view it as mere fidgeting. They think she is just being a woman or checking her reflection. But at Psyphoria Echo, we know there is no such thing as a random movement. When a woman feels the sudden sharp spike of genuine attraction, her internal chemistry undergoes a radical shift. Her brain is instantly flooded with a cocktail of dopamine, norepinephrine, and adrenaline. This isn't just a feeling, it is a physiological event. This surge of neurochemical creates a surplus of electrical voltage in her nervous system. Her body literally has more energy than it knows what to do with. Because she cannot simply scream or run, she must find a constructive outlet for this excess static. This is where the pin begins. She starts to groom herself. She smooths her hair, even if not a single strand is out of place. She adjusts a necklace that was already perfectly centered. She reapplies a layer of lip gloss that hasn't even begun to fade. She pulls at a shoulder strap that hasn't moved an inch. To the untrained eye, she is just being vain. But to the man who understands Psyphoria Echo, she is optimizing the product for the buyer. Deep within her ancient evolutionary brain, a biological switch has been flipped. That switch is sending a singular, urgent message. A high-value potential mate is present. Optimize your appearance immediately. Maximize your visual appeal. This is a submissive display of the highest order. She is unconsciously making herself more consumable for your eyes. She is polishing the gems because she wants you to value the tria. Sure, but there is a much darker, much more visceral layer to these movements. You must watch exactly where her hands go. If her fingers wander to her neck, her throat, or the delicate skin on the inside of her wrist, you need to stop talking and start observing. These areas represent the most vulnerable parts of the human anatomy. They are the soft points where the lifeblood flows closest to the surface. The carotid artery, the jugular vein, the pulse of the wrist. In the wild, a predator always goes for the throat. To expose the throat to another creature is the ultimate evolutionary sign of total trust. It is a non-verbal way of saying, I am not a threat to you, and I trust you with my life. In the high-stakes theater of seduction, this translates to something much more potent. She is saying, I want to be dominated by you. She is unconsciously drawing your gaze to the parts of her body that are the most sensitive to touch. She is tracing the exact path she wants your hands to take later in the evening. If she is playing with a pendant on her necklace while looking you in the eye, she isn't thinking about the jewelry. She is using the jewelry as a lure to pull your eyes toward her skin. She is highlighting her femininity. She is highlighting her receptivity. The biggest mistake you can make at this moment is to interrupt the ritual. Do not give her a cheap compliment. Do not say, your hair looks nice, or I like your necklace. That breaks the spell of the subconscious and brings her back into her logical, polite mind. Instead, you must let her pin. At Psyphoria Echo, we teach the power of the observed silence. Watch her do it. Let your eyes travel slowly to the area she is touching. Let her feel the weight of your gaze on her neck. Let her realize that you see exactly what she is doing. This creates a level of sexual tension that is almost unbearable. It is a thick, heavy energy that fills the room. In that silence, the social interaction dies, and the biological interaction takes over. The tension is where a simple like hardens into a deep, primal obsession. She begins to feel a shame-pleasure loop. She knows she is being watched, and she knows she is revealing herself. She becomes hyper-aware of her own body because you are hyper-aware of it. This is the moment she stops seeing you as a guy she is talking to and starts seeing you as a man she is responding to. Notice the frequency of the movements. A woman who is bored will look away and touch nothing. A woman who is comfortable will sit still and speak logically. But a woman who is pinning is a woman who is losing her composure. She is trying to keep her mask on while her nervous system is trying to rip it off. She is nesting in your presence. She is preparing her physical self to be claimed. You must understand that she isn't choosing to do this. She cannot stop her hands from moving any more than she can stop her heart from beating faster. This is the Matrix Code in action. While she tells you a story about her job or her friends, her hands are telling you that she is ready for you to close the distance. She is signaling that her defenses are being replaced by decorations. At Psyphoria Echo, we tell you to ignore the story and watch the hands. The hands never lie. The neck never lies. The hands never lie. The neck never lies. The biological pin is her body's way of surrendering before her mind even realizes what is happening. It is the precursor to the triangle of desire, which we will cover in the next segment. But before we move on, ask yourself this. How many times have you missed the pin because you were too busy trying to think of a funny joke? How many times have you ignored the exposure of the throat because you were looking at your phone? Uncomfortable truth. A stop being blind to the ritual. The pin is the green light. It is the biological yes. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You will see it in coffee shops, in boardrooms, and on street corners. You will see the world for what it truly is, a constant, silent negotiation of power and desire. And you will be the only one in the room who knows the score. The deeper layers of Psyphoria Echo. Most men believe they understand eye contact. They think it is a simple binary. Either she is looking at you or she isn't. But in the world of dark psychology and evolutionary biology, eye contact is a sophisticated weapon. It is a diagnostic tool that reveals the exact temperature of her desire. A woman who is just a friend will look at you with what we call the social gaze. Her eyes will travel from one of your eyes up to your forehead and then back to the other eye. She is remaining in the upper hemisphere of your face. This is a safe, intellectual, and completely non-threatening pattern. It is the gaze of a business partner or a distant cousin. It signals that her mind is engaged, but her body is offline. But when a woman wants you, the gravity of her desire literally drags her gaze downward. At Psyphoria Echo, we call this the triangle of desire. Watch her pupils with surgical focus. She will look at your left eye, then your right eye, and then her gaze will drop to your mouth. She will linger there for a fraction of a second, just long enough for her subconscious to register the shape and texture of your lips. Then she will snap back to your eyes to see if you noticed. She is checking the biological equipment for intimacy. She is imagining the sensation of your breath against her skin. She is wondering, quite literally, what it would feel like to have your mouth on hers. This is a primal, involuntary reflex. She cannot stop herself from looking at the prize. But there is a variation of this gaze that is even more telling, and most men completely misinterpret it as shyness or boredom. It is called the fractured gaze. This occurs when the level of attraction is so high that it actually overwhelms her nervous system. The voltage of the connection becomes too much for her to process while maintaining eye contact. You catch her looking at you. You lock eyes for a brief electric moment, and then she immediately breaks the connection by looking down. Pay very close attention to that direction. If she looks to the side, she is simply distracted or uninterested. Looking to the side is a search for an exit. It is a search for something else to focus on. But looking down is the universal sign of submission. She is bowing her gaze. She is breaking the circuit because the intensity of the moment makes her feel exposed. She feels as though you can look right through her social mask and see the raw, dirty thoughts she is having. That moment of looking down is a moment of sweet shame. She is embarrassed that she wants you so much. She is rattled by your presence. At Psyphoria Echo, we teach you that this is the moment of ultimate power. Most men, when they see a woman look away, feel a sense of rejection. They think, oh, she's not interested, and they look away too. They break the tension just when it was becoming profitable. Do not be that man. When you catch her in a fractured gaze, you must do the exact opposite of what your insecurity tells you to do. You must hold your gaze on her for 1 or 2 seconds longer. Let her feel the weight of your eyes on the top of her head while she is looking down. Let her feel that you caught her. Let her feel that you are comfortable with the heat, even if she isn't. This creates a psychological imprint. You are signaling that you are the dominant force in the interaction. You are signaling that you are not afraid of her desire. In fact, you are inviting it. When she eventually looks back up, and she will see that you never wavered. The shift in the room at that moment is tectonic. Her respect for you will skyrocket because you didn't flinch. You didn't apologize for the tension. You amplified it. This is the difference between a nice guy who wants to make her feel comfortable and a man who wants to make her feel alive. A woman who is comfortable is a woman who is stagnant. A woman who is slightly nervous, slightly rattled, and unable to hold your gaze is a woman who is on the verge of surrender. She is fighting a war between her polite upbringing and her animal instincts. Her eyes are the battlefield. The triangle tells you she is thinking about the physical. The fractured gaze tells you she is feeling the emotional weight of your presence. At Psyphoria Echo, we observe the dilation of the pupils as well. When she looks at you, are her pupils pinpricks or saucers? Dilation is a sign that the brain is trying to take in as much information as possible about a high-value stimulus. If her pupils are wide, she is literally trying to consume you with her vision. Combine this with the pin from the previous segment, and you have a confirmed kill. If she is touching her neck while looking at your mouth, the conversation is no longer about whatever words are coming out of her mouth. The conversation is about the bed. She is signaling receptivity on every biological frequency. Most men are blind because they are waiting for her to say, "I find you attractive." They are waiting for a verbal contract, but the eyes have already signed the deal in blood. The eyes are telling you that she is ready to lose control. She is looking for a man who is strong enough to handle her looking down. She is looking for a man who doesn't look away when things get heavy. She is testing your frame through the windows of her soul. If you can hold the gaze, you win the game. If you can decode the triangle, you know exactly where her mind is wandering. Stop looking for smiles. Smiles can be faked. Smiles are part of the polite training we discussed earlier. But the fractured gaze and the triangle of desire are hardwired into the limbic system. They are the truth, stripped of its makeup. They are the silence that speaks louder than a shout of sign number 4 is the safe challenge. This is the exact point where 99% of men lose the game. This is the filtering mechanism that separates the nice guys from the men who truly understand the dark psychology of attraction. Most men believe that if a woman likes them, she will make things easy for them. They expect her to be agreeable, to nod at their stories, and to offer constant validation. But at Psyphoria Echo, we know that biology dictates the exact opposite. When a woman feels a deep, visceral spike of attraction toward you, she will not make it easy. In fact, she will become difficult. She will tease you. She will challenge your opinions with a sharp tongue. She might even become a little bit bratty or dismissive. She will say things like, "I bet you say that to every girl you meet." Or, "You really think you're a lot smarter than you actually are, don't you?" The weak man, the man who lacks a solid internal frame, gets offended by this. He feels his ego being bruised. He thinks she is rejecting him, and so he begins to defend himself. He tries to explain why he is actually a good guy. He tries to prove his intelligence or his status. He seeks her approval to make the teasing stop. In that moment of explanation, he has failed the test. He has shown her that her words have the power to rattle his foundation. At Psyphoria Echo, we teach you that she is not attacking you. She is performing a stress test on your structural integrity. Think of her desire as a heavy, powerful current. Before she can surrender to that current, she needs to know if the vessel, which is you, can handle the weight. Biology dictates that a woman cannot and will not surrender to a man she perceives as weaker than herself. If a simple, playful sentence from her can make you stumble or feel insecure, how can you possibly protect her from the real world? If you cannot handle her bratty attitude during a date, how will you handle her genuine emotional storms later in life? She pushes against you to see if you are a wall or a door. A door swings open the moment pressure is applied. It offers no resistance and provides no security. A wall stays exactly where it is. A wall is a destination. A wall is a destination. She wants the wall. She is begging for you to put her in her place, not with anger and certainly not with aggression. She wants you to handle her with amused mastery. She wants you to handle her with amused mastery. Which wants you to handle her with amused mastery? When she challenges you, you must look at her with the same expression you would give a golden retriever puppy that is trying to growl at you. You look at her with a smirk. You look at her with a sense of amusement that says, "That's cute that you're trying to rattle me." You don't engage with her logic because the challenge isn't about logic. Because the challenge isn't about logic. It is about the emotional frequency beneath the words. If she teases you, you must tease as you. You must tease her back twice as hard. If she disagrees with you, just to be difficult, do not look for a compromise. Hold your ground with a smile that never reaches your eyes. Watch her very closely when you don't crumble. You will see a fascinating biological transformation occur right in front of you. The bratty attitude will suddenly melt away. Her pupils will dilate. The tension in her shoulders will drop. She will smile, and the laughter will feel different. It will feel like a sigh of relief. In that moment, respect is born. And for a woman, respect is the primary fuel for sexual obsession. A woman never truly desires a man she can control or manipulate. If she can move you with her words, she has lost interest in you as a mate. By fighting you playfully, she is actually fighting her own mounting desire to submit to your strength. She is checking to see if you are big enough to handle what she is about to give you. Most men are too nice to pass this test. They think being agreeable is the path to her heart, but at Psyphoria Echo, we know that agreeability is the path to the friend zone. Agreement is boring. Conflict, when handled with masculine poise, is electric. It creates a push-pull dynamic that keeps her mind tethered to you. She will go home and wonder why she couldn't get a rise out of you. She will think about your smirk. She will think about how you didn't apologize. She will become addicted to the game because you are the only man she has met who isn't afraid of her. You must realize that her safe challenge is an invitation to dance. It is her way of saying, "Show me that you are the man I think you are." It is a request for leadership. If you pass the test by remaining unreactive and amused, you have cleared the biggest hurdle in the interaction. You have proven that your reality is stronger than hers. You have proven that you are the source and she is the receiver. Once she knows she cannot break your frame, she will stop trying to break it and start trying to join it. The safe challenge is the gatekeeper of intimacy. Without it, the attraction remains superficial and polite. With it, the interaction becomes a primal negotiation. Stop fearing her attitude. Welcome it. Invite it. Love it. The more she challenges you, the more she is trying to convince herself to let go. Be the wall. Be the anchor.